Football fans, gooners of the world, this is your friend Shatta from Uncensored Arsenal with the live stream I've been promoting all week. And I hope and pray that there's an audience to listen to me, Blackbird George, Siebes, and Omid Javed. I'm still waiting on Ehab and Biso. How you doing, guys? Siebes, welcome. You first.
Great, thanks. Thanks for inviting me on. You're a good lad.
I'm just telling people that I've known you online for 15 years, and the first we were meeting, at least in this format.
Yeah, obviously yourself and George on the cultured left foot, we had to fight the corner for all the negativity and all the EOs that were on there.
Yep.
And and then obviously when George started Positively Arsenal, the decent people all come across. So yeah, 15 plus years really, I suppose.
Yes, my friend, where are the years gone?
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
Omi was a little lad in school, but he's now very much a part of the Uncensored team. Omi, welcome, sir. It's 1 a.m. in Pakistan, and you are always welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Thank you, sir. It's always good to see you, and always good to see you guys as well.
And last but by no means least, the one and only, the pedantic man himself, the great Blackburn George. George, how are you doing?
Well, that wasn't the build-up he promised me. He said it was going to be a lot better than that. Yeah, I'm all right.
Yes.
I'm in I'm in a good mood. I'm in a good mood about Arsenal as well at the moment.
All right. Well, we have a couple of listeners on, viewers. I hope that more will join us. But of course, I record this program and I present it as a podcast, and I also could put it on my blog as a video cast. So I have no fear, lads. Whatever we say today, we will find a way to multiply it. But I like to tell the listeners, the viewers, I've gotten so used to saying listeners, that half an hour into the show, if you pose your questions, I'm going to read them on loud. If you're on YouTube, please do. But people, guys, I want to talk about Daniel Eck, who has made an offer to the Kroenkes. He improved his offer in the past week from 1.8 billion to $2 billion. And you know, the first time around, I disparaged his offer because Arsenal is worth, according to Forbes, 2.8 billion, and he lowball the Kroenkes. But he's come back with a $2 billion offer. And it seems like all the people who need a sugar daddy to bail Arsenal out are pleased. But what? Do they know anything? That's the first question I think we should ask ourselves. Do we know who is Daniel Eck and what does he really want from Arsenal? Does he really want to own and run a football club? What are your views, my good friends? Have you thought about that? Seems you and the Arsenal Independence Supporters Association must have thought about that. Who is Daniel Eck and why is he interested in Arsenal? Could you tell the audience your thoughts on this?
Yeah, as far as the Arsenal Independent Supporters Association is concerned, their sort of proviso is that they're always supportive of the club, but are a critical friend. And so basically, they represent the fans and they do everything else around. So they want owners and they want decent owners. But I think that until something happens, they're not going to throw their weight behind any particular one. They had a decent enough relationship with the Hillwoods, but certainly with the Kroenkes, the communication hasn't been there. And when there has been consultation, the Kroenkes have not listened to them. Certainly more recently the silver membership issue. So yeah, definitely, I think that Daniel Eck, with the players that he's got behind the PR that he's got behind him, I think has almost guaranteed a communication with the main Arsenal supporters clubs, and certainly ISA are the biggest one, and so because 3 fans forums a year is not good enough. So if they're having regular consultations, and they've got so many different departments, and so they will like have talks on so many different things: safety of the stadium, accessibility for physically challenged people, and so all different aspects. And obviously they've got liaisons with the FSA, the Football Supporters Association, as well. So yes, I would imagine on that sort of front, I would imagine it would be welcomed. However, like as far as sort of my personal view is, like you said, 2 billion isn't a great offer. If I was the Kroenkes, I'm not sure that I'd be accepting it. And once he's in, he's not going to be able to put much money into the actual the things on the field. He's not a sugar daddy, like you said. So yeah. So as far as the running of the club and everything like that's concerned, he may be better than the Kroenkes, but I don't know about going forward after that.
What is your reaction, Omi Jabel? What do you know of Daniel Eck? Why do you think he's interested in the club?
Well, I think he is interested in the club because he says from himself that he is an Arsenal fan. And I think apart from that, of course, the only thing that you can say is the business side that is interested for Arsenal, because Arsenal can be a club that has many problems from outside, but they are one of the better run clubs in England, and a club with sustainable structure and sustainable income. So that is one thing that Arsenal have done good. And as far as a business committee, it is, I would say, uh, a good club for any buyer to basically pursue. But as far as Daniel Eck himself is concerned, I think I'm not really sure what change would happen if this thing goes through. But I think
Well,
the
let's
main thing that
hold on your
is the
thoughts. Hold on
difference
your
between the
thoughts on
two
that.
is that
Hold your thoughts on that, Omi. I don't want to get onto what will change. You answer the question. It's a business opportunity for him. You
Mhm.
said he
Yes,
well, okay. The hold your thoughts. We'll talk about what may or may not change. Ehab,
sure.
who is Daniel Eck and why is he interested in Arsenal Football Club?
I actually never knew anything about him just until he made that tweet that he's interested in Arsenal. I found out that he's an Arsenal fan. I know he's the guy behind Spotify. I heard his name once or twice, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not interested in Arsenal. This is a great PR move. Um, they will not sell for that much. The Kroenkes have a lot of money. They have so much money. They are putting Josh in charge, who's like, how old is he? 35.
Something like
And
that. There's a kid.
yeah, and they putting him in charge of this $2 billion corporation. He's not interested. But look at it. We are on a podcast, one of thousands, who are talking about who's Daniel Eck. Nobody knew who he was 3 weeks ago, 1 month ago, and I mean, to do that kind. This is a club with millions and millions of fans all over the world. To reach those people and to put your name through inside the homes of those people, he would have needed like a couple of $1 billion just in advertising campaigns. And now people from Pakistan, from India, from Britain, in Kiev, people in Saudi Arabia, people in Dubai, people in Japan are talking about them in the US. They're talking about him. Oh, we need this guy. Nobody knows anything about him. Nobody knows how good or bad he's going to be. But they need this guy to run it, and he's the hero of the people. Can you imagine how much people would spend to get that image across all that area and all that fan base? So he did nothing, just a couple of tweets here and there, a couple of phone calls to players, to old players, and faked that he's serious. And he made an offer of $2 billion. Is not gonna anything below 3 billion or 2.75 if the Kroenkes are sick of this is not gonna sell. Is not gonna get this club sold. There's something. You're valued at a price, but when you don't want to sell, you don't. It's impossible to sell at this price. It happens. It depends. Like if your club is in a bad position, you are going to sell for less than what you valued at, and we're not going to sell at 2 billion. He knows we're not going to sell at 2.5, and he's going to make a higher offer, and people are going to go crazy because the Kroenkes are not going to sell, and nobody understands that this is not what the club is worth. It's what says on Forbes, but it's not what the club is worth when you're just sitting.
I want to come back to that, but George, who is Daniel Eck, and why is he interested in Arsenal? Have you thought about that?
Not really, because I'm not going to spend my time researching some guy who owns 10% of Spotify. But before, the crux of the matter isn't whether Daniel Eck wants to buy it or not. The fact is the Kroenkes don't want to sell it. That's the main point here. It doesn't matter who comes in. I can come in with a bid, and I can get a consortium together and offer £2.3 billion. They're not selling. They bought into this club, I don't know, 2008, was it? About that time? And they waited 10 years to get 100% control of the club. They've only just got 100% control of the club. Mm-hmm. The way they operate the business is to buy a club, long-term, invest in it, and go with it for 20, 30 years. They've just built a stadium for the Rams. They've not done that to turn a quick buck, to make a quick profit. If Kroenkes had wanted to make a profit, all they had to do was sell their 70% to Usmanov. Then they would have made a fortune. If making a profit on their shares was their intention. It's not their intention. They've bought it, 100% of it. They've bought out all the small investors, so nobody can interfere. Nobody even gets to go to a board meeting now and ask questions. They want total control. They got total control. There is no way in this world they're selling it. Now, everything has a price, people will tell you. It's the same with buying players. When you say a player's not for sale, they'll say, all players are for sale, there's a price. Right. Let's look at the price. I reckon the club is worth about, realistically, if they wanted to sell it, 2.5 billion, maybe a little bit more. They don't want to sell it. So to tease them into selling, you have to make them an offer that they can't refuse. They have to make that much money that they'll accept an offer to sell an asset they don't want to sell. Now, they've already got £15 billion. What sort of money are you going to have to offer them on top of the 2.5 billion that the club's worth for them to be interested? I would say, at least another 500 million. So you've got it up to 3 billion now before you can even interest them in leaving the club. So this Daniel Eck thing, £2 billion, for 1.8 billion, he's having an absolute giggle. And like Ehab says, he's having a giggle, and it's promoting him and his business in a way that advertising couldn't have done, because nobody had heard of the guy. Nobody. And what does he do? He brings along Thierry Henry and Dennis Bergkamp, the two biggest icons at the club. Oh, come on. I'm surprised he hasn't got Arsene Wenger to put his name to it as well. Just so that everybody will go with it. And then what does he do? Oh, not only that, not only have I got Thierry Henry here and Dennis Bergkamp, who you've been waiting, who hasn't bothered coming back to the club, by the way, since 2006. Dennis doesn't even fucking get on the ferry and come over and visit us. Never mind, fucking buy into the club. I've got these two, and and then fan groups. You lads, you can have a seat on the board. Come on, get on the board. You can help me run it. And all the fans are going, yeah, that's what we want. Fan ownership. Oh, he's throwing one thing after another to get all the fans G'd up to get publicity for him. He's a fucking chancer. An absolute chancer. Now let's get to him. 3 billion it'll take to buy the club. He hasn't got 3 billion. He would have to sell everything he has, all his business interests, or borrow the money against all of his business interests. 100% almost of his business interests would have to go up as security for a loan to buy this club, if the Kroenkes accepted 3 billion. Now, who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay that loan off? He's not paying it. The club's going to pay it. It's going to be like the Glaziers at Manchester United. So they'll be taking money out the club. He's got no money left. We just established that he's fucking spent all his money. Who's going to buy Mbappe for us? Who's going to buy Neymar for us? Because that's what people want. That's what we fucking think's going to happen. He's thrown Bergkamp in, he's thrown Henry in, he's thrown a seat in the board in, and he's going to throw in, and I'll buy all these world-class players, because that's what people think he'll bring. He won't bring it. He won't bring fuck all, because he's not coming, and they're not selling it. Here endeth the lesson.
George, I think you dismiss Daniel Eck at your
You dismiss him. Yeah, fuck him. He's a chancer.
Yeah, but let's be serious here. Daniel became a millionaire at 23 or so when he sold his advertising company for 1.something billion. At 16, he was in business making more money than his dad, 50,000 a month, he says in his interviews. He has founded Spotify. It's now a company making 400 million a year. It has 300 million to 400 million subscribers. He wants to be the #1 audio company in the world. He got Joe Rogan on last year. He reports in his filings with the NASDAQ that year on year, the advertising revenue from podcasts have grown by 100%. I think he's making a speculative play here. I think he started at $1.8 billion to lowball the Kroenkes, and he's going to be. And let's bear this in mind. Why would he make a speculative play after the ESL deal fell through? This dude is worth $3.something billion at 36, 37. He has 11% of the company, but he has 65% of the voting stock. This youth is not an idiot.
Absolutely not.
Omi, no, George, hold on a second. Omi, you are into tech. Isn't this how these tech people operate? Tell me.
Well, tech people are always looking for profits, I would say. They would build a company, take it to a point, and then sell it and move on. So that's mostly how tech giants work. But as far as Daniel Eck is concerned, I would say I completely second what Ahab and George basically said. I think when I saw the bid for the first time, I thought it's a great political move, I would say, because fans are not in favor of the current ownership. You have given them something to play at, something to basically see, and to say, okay, we might have a way out of the current ownership, so let's go for it. Let's raise your voice for it. Let's do protests. Let's do things like that to make sure, to force someone to
let's hang
it.
effigies of the Kroenkes outside the stadium.
Yeah, I think the idea is that without going into the discussion that whether Daniel Eck is serious about it or not, I think the main idea that you can see from the outside is that to basically lower the value or lower the asking price of Arsenal Football Club in and to basically weaken the position of Kroenkes to begin with.
That
And
is
I
exactly my
think
point. This is
that
what I'm suggesting to you guys. This guy wants to use the current dissatisfaction to weaken the position of the Kroenkes. This is
yes,
Yeah, there's
going
one.
to
and
go from 1.8, yes, Steve, 1.8 billion to 2
Right,
billion. Then it's going to go to 2.2 and perhaps to 2.5. He's not, but it is to get his
the
hands on
long
the club.
game.
What do you think? What do you
I,
say, Steve?
I understand what you're saying there. He's playing the long game, and it might go on for years, to be honest. As far as using the dissatisfaction of the fans, um, listen, the A4 Kroenke out was quite pathetic, wasn't it? To be honest. And the other biggest thing, one of the funniest things I've seen, as soon as the season finished, was the uh, thing about all the fans not being able to buy Arsenal merchandise. And they said, right, that's it. We'll have a blanket ban. Don't buy the merchandise. And
Yeah.
then the first day that the green kit come out, everyone bought it, and they was all over Twitter saying, "Yeah, I did say I didn't want to buy the merchandise, but it's such a nice kit, I've bought it." And so uh, fans are fickle. You're not going to get that. I think if he is serious about it, and like we're saying, we're all about that. Uh, it's going to take him. It's going to take him a couple of years. This is not going to be a quick thing by any stretch of the imagination.
Before we get back to George, I'm giving the counter argument, and we'll come back to George to see if he agrees with us. I give the counter that this guy is serious. George says he's serious. George and I are on the opposite side today for the first time.
No, actually, George is right and Seeps is
No,
right.
but what do you think of the point I'm making that Daniel Eck is playing the long game, exploiting fan dissatisfaction? By the way, all the clubs that were involved in the ESL, do you know that their brand value? I just did a little research. Their brand value went down by 15% approximately,
Mhm.
including Arsenal's. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, but the thing is, the first thing that people have to understand with the dissatisfaction thing, this is not a democracy. This is a business. Nobody is going. Have you ever been to a Newcastle game when Mike Ashley was there? They sit about, what, 10 meters away from him, and they
Yeah,
turn around and curse him to his face. And he's there every game. He hears the chants. They call him a cunt in front of everyone. There's a chant that says he's a cunt. And he's there at the stadium.
yeah.
And he
Drinking,
doesn't,
drinking beer,
he
drinking
destroyed the
Newcastle
team.
ale.
He destroyed the Newcastle, relegated them twice, Newcastle. And he destroyed the whole team and went out and said there's no more money left in the club right now to buy players. And he's still the owner. Stan Kroenke is not a bad owner. People have to understand. We've talked in the last episode about the 300 million spent and 200 million wasted. And how many clubs can do that? And we are still in the transfer market. The problem has not been the spending. The problem has been the management of the spending. And you are going to find out, as George said, this guy, he has to sell everything to be able to spend in the. Yeah, if he offers 2.5 million and they accept, where is he's gonna get another 500 million to make this team look like Manchester City in a couple of years? No, no, nowhere. If we instead of doing that, why don't we find somebody who understands? The problem starts with this Josh kid, Josh Kroenke. He's a little kid trying to prove himself, and he believes that everything has to be changed to the new system. But like like everything is corporate now. Everything is PC, blah blah blah, all this bullshit, and this is not how it works. There's still a little bit of emotion and connection in football. Um, what they have to do is, if this Josh guy has to have better advisors. If he takes up somebody like Wenger or somebody like the guy from Southampton, the old guy, I forgot his name, I knew him.
Which one is that?
I don't think you guys know him. The
Oh,
the 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 uh, the previous director of Southampton. I think he's 70 something now, and he's one of the smartest people in football. Anyway, I'll get his name. I'll Google his name. I known him personally. Like I've sat with him, and he's a really great football mind. Like anybody like that, if he gets those kind of advisors, it's gonna be great. But he has business advisors from the U.S. They call it soccer, and I'm somebody from the U.S. and I don't think anybody in the U.S. should be involved in running a football club unless it's the Henrys or the Colangelos or these big families like the Kroenkes. And it's actually silly what's going on. It's going to go the long run because Daniel wants it to go the long run. The longer this keeps going on, the more advertising he gets, the more media and propaganda and coverage goes around, and every £3 added to the price is going to make breaking news and it's going to be all over the news. And anything that's added to the price, anything in the negotiations, and if somebody says, like, if somebody follows Josh Kroenke to the car from the media and asks him about this, and he says anything, if he just shakes his head, it's going to make the news. You know?
before George, I don't know if you're convinced, but I'm going to say something to you before you respond. Every prescription that the Kroenkes have applied, that the Wenger outers gave to the Kroenkes, you need to have a change of management. That has failed. You need to play you need to go in the transfer market more. $300 million in 3 years. That has failed.
Yeah.
You need to play a more defensive-minded brand of football. That has failed.
Mm-hmm.
You need to play with 2 defensive midfielders. That has failed. You need to have a different, modern, young coach. Emery and Arteta. That has failed. We are now shopping at Brighton. We are now shopping at Norwich. Don't you think Daniel Eck sees this? He's Swedish. He knows the football culture. Don't you think in the long run that we're going to lose brand value and that he can scoop us up for pennies relatively? George, your thoughts?
Right, let's get this straight. I think Kroenke is so much of a cunt that he doesn't care if 100 million Arsenal fans are chanting cunt at him. Yeah. He doesn't care. He's a businessman. He really couldn't care, right? So he's not bothered about a bit of negative publicity. So I just don't see what's the end game for Eck. Does he actually want a football club? I've just established for us that financially he's going to put himself out on a real limb, and he's going to end up with a millstone around his neck because football's losing money. This club's losing £150 million this year. Why would you want to buy a business like that at this time? I just don't believe he wants to buy a business like that at this time. It's all, there's so many things. It's like, honestly, it's like somebody sat and thought, how can we appeal to the fan base? What can we throw into this mixture that will bring the fans on our side and get us noticed and get people demanding that I take over? And they did all of it. Henry, Bergkamp, they even tried to, fans come into it.
AISA on board?
It's a joke.
Maybe so.
It's a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's just that it's not happening. It can't happen. And it certainly can't happen at anything like these numbers. And Kroenke really doesn't care. I want him. I think he's awful, right? Because of the appointments he makes, right? The moment he listened to the fans about Arsene Wenger was the moment he lost millions, hundreds of millions of pounds. He's had to spend all the money that Arsene Wenger had made it possible to put aside for when he left. That's gone. We're now losing money. But this, when you say we're shopping at Brighton and we're shopping at Norwich, I say, why not? Really, why not? Because if you think about our teams in the past, where did Steve Ball come from? Where did Winterburn come from? Where did Dixon come from? Where did Seaman come from? They all came from lower clubs than Arsenal. There's nothing wrong with buying clubs from fucking Norwich or another team that gets relegated. I mean, Aston Villa nearly got relegated season before last, and you wouldn't turn your nose up at Jack Grealish. It's like, it's unbelievable. And in fact, I say, why not buy somebody like that, who we don't know what his ceiling is, rather than buy somebody that Real Madrid don't want, that Barcelona don't want, that PSG don't want. A big name when they went to those clubs, and now why would we want to tempt them away? We can't go and get them. Well, look at Manchester City. That if they let some players go, you think, oh, we could get them. Well, they've let them go because they don't quite fit in their system, and they're not the future as Pep Guardiola sees it. So why would they be our future at the very top end of our fucking money scales? Like Sterling. Let's say Sterling came on and we think 100 million, we could get Sterling. 100 million pounds, yeah. It might be another Pep, you know, and Pepe. I'm all in favour of this. I don't see this. I don't see the outrage at buying players from lower down below us. That's how you fucking do it. You take the smaller team's best players, and then you develop them. It's how it's always worked for us. It's not. It's a fallacy that we used to go and buy the best players from all around the world. We didn't. We bought fucking players from teams that were lesser than us that couldn't afford to keep them. And that's what we'll have to do now, because we're not in the market for the top tier players. We weren't then, and we're not now.
But George, well, the latest name is Ben White. Is that his name, correct? The dude from
it is.
And he's got to be what? He's the 8th centre back. We're gonna have anyway. Sibs, does the AISA have an official position on any of these bids?
Like I say, the trouble is they've got obviously thousands, over 10,000 members. So, you know, each person might think a different thing. But as far as the committee goes, they are supportive of the club. I mean, if you go to Untold Arsenal, there's Tony Atwood, who's in charge of the Arsenal history, and the chair of Asia at the moment is Drew Gray, who's a great friend of Tony Atwood's. So they are supportive of Arsenal Football Club, and they will try and get on with whichever board are there. But like I say, the trouble they've had with the Kroenkes is communication. So
they don't give a shit, isn't that correct?
No, but after the Super League debacle, they may have to. I mean, but the fans forum, Kroenke, Josh Kroenke promised that there would be more communication. So if in future, as it went on, that's a possibility. I mean, you know, down the years, like you say, because these are all businessmen. When Sir Henry Norris he saved the club, he was forced off the board by the Hillwoods. You know what I mean? They weren't nice people. They forced him off the board after he'd saved the club, and he put Arsenal up. He gives shares to the supporters at that point, but there weren't enough shares bought up by the supporters, so he had to take it back in his own hands. And then, as a reward for saving the club and everything, the Hillwoods come along, hostile takeover, forced him off the board, and then he could only turn up at board meetings with the shares that he had left, or ask questions at AGMs and stuff. And then David Dean, going forward, everyone's darling, David Dean, he was one of the first ones to suggest the Super League.
Yes.
He was in right at the beginning. So all these people, they're all businessmen. They might say that they're Arsenal fans, but really they follow what's going on at particular clubs rather than anything else. But as far as ICE is concerned, they will always try, because of keeping an open communication, they will always try and be supportive of the club, so
And while you were talking, while you were all talking, I want to suggest that the whole model of ownership of clubs is changing. It's not the local businessman or the I know you call the people who owned Arsenal local, but they were Englishmen and women, and they all sold up to an American and to Usmanov. Don't forget that David Dane sold to Usmanov, sold his shares to Usmanov, and was advocating Usmanov's takeover the club. But people don't seem to understand that Usmanov is wealthier than good old Mr. Kroenke. His holdings in Russia are substantial. But I don't want to go up, but the point I want to make is that it's corporates getting involved, or countries now owning club, because they want to own the brand. And that is what I think Mr. Spotify himself wants to do. He wants the brand. Can you imagine splashing Spotify on this shirt that we're all wearing? I saw this Arsenal character. I don't want to call his name, but he's involved in the Islington Gazette, and he has the cannon and the crest in Spotify green. I was like, Jesus Christ, how fickle are you? And you're supposed to be an Islington person. You're supposed to be from the home of Arsenal. It was really mind-blowing. He was already willing to switch and swap for this sugar daddy. Nothing to do with the cannons in red. History should go. George.
Yeah, can I just say something that you see on the internet all the time and on Twitter, that Kroenke isn't interested in Arsenal being successful?
Yes.
What a load of absolute bollocks. There is no person in the world that benefits more from Arsenal being successful than Stan Kroenke. Of course he wants the club to be successful. I've said a moment ago, I think he's an idiot. He's a crap owner. He's made some terrible appointments. But the idea that he doesn't want the club to be successful is nonsense. He'll do anything he can, within reason, to make the club successful. And he's tried. He did what the fans told him. Get rid of Wenger. He did it. And if that was me at that point, at this point now, and the fans are going, we've got some ideas. Excuse me, we've got some ideas to run your club. Excuse me. I'd go, do you know what you did? You told me to sack Arsene Wenger. I did, and I'm fucked now, so you can fuck off. I'm never going to listen to any of you again, because you're all idiots.
That's not going to make you very popular, George, and that is why...
He's not really popular anyway. He's never going to be popular.
You know what I mean?
The only time he can be popular is if all of a sudden he goes out and buys Mbappe or Neymar or somebody like that, and shows ambition, because apparently ambition is spending somebody else's fucking money. That's all ambition is. You spend somebody else's money and you're ambitious. So the idea that he doesn't want the club to be successful is complete and utter tripe. He might not be able to make it successful because he's useless or he doesn't understand English football. I get all that. He's an American. He doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't understand what football means to everybody. And with all that, he could possibly never make the club successful because he just hasn't got what it takes. But it doesn't mean he doesn't want us to be successful. He has more at stake than anybody and will profit more financially as well as every other thing. Reputation-wise, his whole business will be promoted further by Arsenal being successful on the pitch. It's as simple as that. He's doing his best. His best might be crap, but he's doing his best.
George, I am very weary of suggesting that things will get any better next season. Very, very weary. You know, I don't want to come across as a doom monger. Remember when people dooming, but I'm very weary of it. The moves we have made. It doesn't fill me with any great amount of optimism, and that gives me an opportunity to promote Shard Gunner's blog today, which spoke about what we need to do to get back in the top 6 and top 4. We need to be scoring more goals, creating more chances. I don't see the players to do it. George, as for signings, 6-7 years ago when we signed Mesut Ozil, but then a record fee, you remember the jubilation, people almost taking off their clothes in front of the stadium, and yet these people, these very same fans hound him out because he wasn't the current cup of tea. That's not because he wasn't playing well. It's because the manager didn't like him anymore. So this fickleness, I agree with you. We cannot trust the fans. Their judgment is at the minimum suspect.
Well, we're seeing it all again now. It's playing out again now. People are saying, get rid of Xhaka, sell Xhaka, replace him with Neves. Fuck my old boots. You know, how often do we have to downgrade on a player before somebody goes, do you know what? I'm just going to let some other cunt get on with it because I know nothing. Every time we fucking buy a player, it's a downgrade. We haven't upgraded. There isn't a position on the field since Arsene Wenger left that we've upgraded, apart from possibly Leno. And we could have had Martinez, we already have at the club, would have been more of an upgrade than Leno anyway. So
he was the transfer. He wasn't the transfer.
No, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. We already had him. So it's not really, it wasn't really an upgrade. It might have been an upgrade on Peter Cech at his stage in his career, but we already had Martinez. So we didn't actually need Leno. I can't think of a single position where we've improved that. Not one. And mostly it's a downgrade. And they were talking about Xhaka going, and Xhaka will go, by the way, because Xhaka wants out. He has had enough. We're not selling Xhaka. He's leaving us. We're going to have to take what we can get for him because that boy is off. I watched him again for Switzerland today. Immaculate. Top player.
I missed it, George. I wasn't.
He's going. He's going. And you see our fans celebrating, spending double what we get for him on Ruben Neves, who, by the way, is quite a decent player. I'll tell you, he's not a bad player.
Ian Partey will be sending shots to the moon, guys. So, George, we're gonna cut away from you for a moment, guys. And I will start with Omi. I'm going to come to Ehab, and then make the round circuitous route. So, what is the next move you expect from Mr. Eck? In my opinion, we are in stage 2. Maybe we are in the first act of a four-act play, if you know what I mean. First bid, a little wishy-washy bid, $1.82 billion. What do you expect? Are you convinced that this is a long-term play? What's his next move? You can speculate as much as you like. Omi, what do you expect from Mr. Eck in the next chapter?
Well, I do think that it's a long-term play, and and once I do believe in that thing, I think the best thing that you can expect from him is basically try to play every little disadvantage situation of Arsenal to his advantage. Like you get a bad start, you have a bad transfer window. To every bad result that you can expect, or okay, that fans can be, ready to basically throw the towel in for Stan Kroenkes and side with me. I think he will try to, and if he is serious about that, and if he is going to play it quickly, I think he should be looking for that. Try to exploit every situation, every negative situation that he can, as much as he can, for
You
his
remember?
advantage.
You remember
And I
how?
think that is the only thing that we can. I think that is the only thing that we can expect right now. I think one thing that he has in his in his quote is basically the three big names, and I think that is something that won't go away easily because uh, yeah, Dennis Bergkamp doesn't come to TV much. Same goes with Patrick Vieira, but Thierry Henry does. And from time to time, you might you might see his statements, and you see okay that this is currently happening. But if we were in charge, this won't happen. This will happen in different way. And these small things, these small bits of information go a long way. I would say in the long term.
Yeah. Um. And you, Ehab, what do you expect? Omi says he expects Mr. Eck to take advantage of every misstep. Remember in the Usman of Kroenke struggle, how every misstep was taken.
Yeah,
The
this is
Kroenke,
what's gonna happen.
the Usmanov. That's not me finish. The Usmanov surrogates used to use that to try to get one over Kroenke. And he was always a
Yeah,
minority. Go ahead.
actually, Usmanov was more serious than Daniel Eck. He actually wrote a letter that he published as that he said this club is not being run the right way. And at the time where people were second guessing Arsene Wenger, he said, I support the manager and want to take this club forward. We need to support this manager.
I remember
And
that.
yeah, and then he said that football has changed and it needs spending and it needs to be fed. And Everton in the next 2 to 3 years, they're gonna show us that Usmanov was the better choice. There's a reason David Dean went out and became his manager. He managed the company for him. When David Dean quit, he went to Usmanov company and he ran it, I think, for 6 years.
Red and White
Uh,
Holdings. Red and White Holdings. Just remind people
I,
that's what it
I
was.
forgot the name. I
Red and
forgot the
White
name.
Holdings.
Yeah, and this club is not going to be sold to somebody who's worth $3 billion. I've seen somebody in the chats asking if the Kroenkes lost money. They did not lose money in at Arsenal. Those people invested 500 million to start with, and this grew. And then they bought Usmanov 30% out, probably paid him another 750 million. So the total investment is between 1.25 to 1.5 billion pounds. So they're making profit, but as you said, Shota, this is the brand, this is the name. If you buy Arsenal today, anything you say, anything you do, if you want to put your brand on Arsenal's shirt, it's going to reach easily 80, 90, 100 million people
Of course.
in a second.
Of
Yeah.
course.
So uh, Daniel Eck can't buy it. He's worth $3 billion. He's not gonna be the only people who can buy it, because I tell you something. The Saudi king or his son tried to buy Manchester United, and Manchester United is valued around 2.5 billion, $2.8 billion.
And their
Uh,
brand, by the way, Ehab is worth 1.2 billion. Just the brand.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No. Actually, this is for United. United, I don't know how much they're worth, but it was this much. And they said the deal was being finalized, not finalized, because the Saudis agreed at 5.2 billion, and the Glazers were asking for 5.75. I live in Saudi Arabia. This is in the newspapers. Like people talk about it in the newspapers, and they didn't want to buy 5.75. Can you imagine? It's valued at 2.7 or 2.8 in Forbes because the brand itself is a huge name. And they are going to do like what PSG did, but on a bigger scale. They did not buy Neymar because Neymar is the best player, because they bought Neymar because he's the most marketable player at that time. 200 million is nothing. He's going to have sponsorships, he's going to sell shirts, he's going to go to, when they go, PSG goes to Japan or China, they're going to have huge campaigns. So 200 million is nothing for Neymar. What's going on here with Daniel Eck? This is bigger than him. I mean, I would be okay if he goes and buys Brentford. I would say he would take them somewhere. But Arsenal just, I mean, we are belittling ourselves by saying somebody who has $3 billion can buy Arsenal. It's just how far down we've gone. Something that George said is about the Kroenkes being a terrible manager. Stan has not been a terrible manager. The thing is, he's passed the torch to his son, and his son is trying to run it in the new modern business era. Like he's like 100% logic, 1 plus 1 is equal to, and this is what's fucking things up. Like it's like, when you see in movies, the old guy goes to Google and he has the business way and business ethics, and he sees everything different, and he cannot go on with this thing. And this is what they're doing. They're running things to the logical understanding of a 35-year-old, and he's going to become a better owner somehow. Um, but they're not gonna say it. They're not gonna say it's not gonna go for less than 3. I'm saying 2.75 because you never know what people think. But they're never in a pandemic and all these kind of things. But it's not gonna go. But if you want to buy Arsenal, this Daniel Eck next move is, as Omi said, use every loss, use every problem. Anytime we get out of the FA Cup, anytime we don't get a player, he's going to show up on your Twitter feed, and he's going to be on Sky Sports, and he's going to up his bid when things shit hits the fan. Like if there's another, like let's boycott the games and not go to it,
Yes,
and
yes.
they do this crap that they used to do in front of the stadium. This thing, he's gonna come and up the bid by 150 million dollars, which is not gonna get us anywhere. But he's going to, like, he's like Donald Trump, if, who ran for president. He didn't want to be president, but somehow it worked, and he was in trouble. If they accept his bid, Daniel Eck is in trouble. First thing he's gonna do is find another buyer. He's either gonna sell or have a partner come in. He's in
Well,
trouble if they accept his bid. It's that simple.
he have. May I interrupt you and say he
Good.
represents, although he's making this bid personally, you notice that
Hmm.
he's never says it's Spotify. But
Hmm.
it's going to be a call. He is the CEO, and I told you he's a 65, 60 something percent voting
I
for
understand.
England, right? He's
I
going to
understand.
turn them at the company, issue some more shares, even though they are losing
But
money, and try
but
to finance this deal.
Shota, let me interrupt you for one thing.
Yes.
George said something about them not having Arsene Wenger on board. They can't have Arsene Wenger on board. He's much smarter than his players. He's
Oh
not
yes.
gonna buy into this bullshit. Arsene Wenger is worth $280 million, by the way, and he's never going to buy into the shit that they're doing. Uh, he's just gonna stand and watch. He's the head of FIFA. He's bigger than this, and he's not gonna come in any of this. The only way Arsene Wenger comes back to Arsenal if the owner of PSG, who's a personal friend of his, comes and buys Arsenal and
Yeah.
asks him to run the club. This is the only way he's coming back. But he's not gonna come over somebody who's worth 2.3 billion or 3 billion or whatever, who's trying to make a PR deal and be a part of it. He's never done
By
that in
the
his
way,
life.
all right, I have to just hold it one moment there because Sam S in the chat is saying, and I'm going to, Shibs, you are you get the pleasure of responding to this. Um, he says, I don't think it's fair to assume that Eck has any interest in Arsenal as an advertisement brand or similar. Spotify has much greater reach and user base than any given football club. What is your reaction to that, Siebes?
Yeah, well, it's true. Like we were saying earlier about how much Spotify is growing and everything, and it's not just Spotify. He has his fingers in many pies. He's one of those entrepreneurs who buys startups all over the place and sees how they grow. So if we say he's worth 3 billion at the moment, that doesn't mean that he's not. His money's not going to grow. His wealth is not going to grow, and he certainly could borrow the money, or because that's what he's going to be doing. He's not going to be paying cash for this. It'll be money that he's borrowing in, and
or issue shares. You issue shares, you get money without having to borrow. Go ahead.
yeah, but with a brand like Arsenal, you go round, and I would imagine it's quite easy to find fund, other people to fund. But that's true what Samuel was saying there, that Spotify is it is a world brand by itself, and so maybe we're being where we're saying, obviously we're Arsenal supporters, and we're saying Arsenal's been historically has been running for years. We're a massive brand, but if you look at the modern media now, the modern media brands are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and very quickly, and so his money could go up very, very quickly. Now, whether it's a PR stunt or whether he's serious and he's in it for the long term, personally, I want Arsenal to get better, but at the moment, I don't really care either way. What I want to see is Arsenal on the pitch doing better. I want us to be classy like we used to be, and just not make so many fuck ups that we're doing, because we're making ourselves look idiots most of the time. But yeah, I mean, we come 8th last year, so I think going forward we need to really look at our position. And when George was saying about there weren't many upgrades on the pitch, well, the 3 best players last year, apart from Granite, who's he's not an upgrade because he is what he is and he's always been good, but was obviously Tierney, Saka and Smith Rowe. So if you're 8th and you want to improve, you build a club through your youth. We have a great academy all the way through. The big clubs who spend shitloads of money on their academies, like City and Chelsea, are chucking young players out left, right and centre. And we're picking quite a few up from Chelsea. But go with the youth, go with decent players from lower clubs and build your club up that way. It's an easy game. You do need a decent manager to do it. And obviously at the moment it doesn't look like that's the way we're going. But yeah, as far as Daniel Eck's concerned, I mean, I like him. I've done my haircut the same as his, obviously. Yeah, for the moment, I think it is going to be a long-term thing, and so I'm not bothered for a while. I just want the youth to come through on the 11 on the pitch. Get rid of all these players that are costing us loads of money, and let's support the youth like we always used to. There was a saying that Tottenham would buy stars and we would buy a team. And that used to be the case. Tottenham would buy these big stars, we would buy a team, and then we would always come through. And we need to go back to that. We need definitely to go back to that. Promote through the youth, and that's the way.
It's obvious that, to me, it's obvious that our manager doesn't have a lot of confidence in some of the youth with Villa. He doesn't look like he wants to keep him. Willock, he doesn't look like he wants to keep him. Bellerin, who was homegrown player, he looks like he's off. I mean, there's no stability and no consistency around which you're building the team. That does not give me confidence. That looks like Tottenham. Every year they change the team are the old Tottenham.
That's right.
Yeah, before what's his name that just left. He brought some stability. The old Tottenham, every year there was a massive turnover. George, what do you expect as the final? The next act in this play. You have the final say here.
Well, I think he'll come back with, he'll release to the media that he's made a. We don't even know whether he's made a bid or not, by the way. You're getting feedback on this.
Somewhere, somebody's mic. Seeds, check your mic. Mute your mic, Seeds.
Sorry.
Good. Go ahead, George. You were saying we were talking about the final. What your next? He's gonna. What your statement was that he would say? No, I did. I got distracted as well. Start all over again, please. What's the next?
I've no idea what I was talking about.
Yeah, you. Well, let you get back to your train of thought.
Daniel Eck may or may not have made an offer. All we've had is leaks about saying that he has made an offer. Nobody knows that he's made an offer. Not had a statement from the club saying that they've rejected an offer. I don't think he's made a realistic offer. So I don't see where it can go. This, but the fans have bought into it. And going back to the point I was making, the fans have bought into it because he's thrown them all a bone. They all think that he's going to come in. I'm an Arsenal fan. Fucking hell. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I'm not selling my house, my car, and my dog to buy into fucking Arsenal. That's what he would have to do to buy Arsenal. He'd have to 100%. How much of an Arsenal fan is it that he would do that? It's rubbish. He's not buying it because he's a fan. That's the first thing.
We established that. He's buying
He may be a fan and want to buy it, but he's not buying it because he's a fan. He's not going to fund us like they want, and that's what they want, Shatter. They're buying into it. They think it because he's a fan, he's going to plough all his own money into the team. And they've bought into it. They've bought in hook, line, and sinker. And like I said, they've thrown in Bergkamp, Vieira, fucking Henry. Who else could he fucking throw into the ring? There's nobody left, you know. If I were Robert Perez, I'd be fucking gutted that he hasn't thrown my name in the fucking hat yet. So
I
just don't see it. But the fans are having it. He's got the money and he wants to invest and he'll return us to glory. No, he fucking won't. He won't do any of those things. He hasn't got enough money to do any of those things, as of yet anyway. And like Steve says, he might be like your Facebook man, and all of a sudden he might have 10 times as much as he had a year ago. And then he would be in a position to buy Arsenal. But I don't even understand why he would want to. Why would you want to involve yourself in the football business? You've just seen the collapse of the European Super League, where all the money for the big clubs was going to come from. Every club's losing money. Every club. So if you get an owner that's going to cover your debts like KSE are, at least that's a start. Because there's going to be £150 million lost this season. They're going to have to cover that. And then they're going to have to put some money in for transfers. It's a lot of money. Why would you want to buy into it at this stage at an inflated price, which you'll have to pay to get it because the Kroenkes don't want to sell? It's just all nonsense to me. I can't take it seriously. I really can't. Watch him buy it next week now.
Well, so let us wrap this up. Ehab, you dropped him. I don't know if his video left him. I can't see him nor hear him. Tried to bring him in a while ago. Ehab, I know you're somewhere there. So can we conclude, Sibs? This is a yes or no answer?
Yeah.
Expect more from this? Do you expect to see Mr. Eck?
Yeah, this will go on. Like I say, whether it's a PR stunt or not, this will go on for a while. Because it's just something to wind the fans up with and roll along with his hands in the air. You know, I'm the hero and everything like that. So yeah, it'll go on. And if he really does want it, and he's all his businesses are growing and his money's growing, then eventually he may get it. But I don't think in the immediate future it's anything that we need to concern ourselves about. I think there's bigger fish to fry at Arsenal. Christ, we've just come 8th in the league for the first time in
Indeed,
25 years.
indeed, and that is why I had a big challenge today promoting this live stream and Shad Guna's blog because I thought it was very, very important. We know what we need to correct, what we need to do better, and I'm going to give this one moment to give it another prop. So Omi, yes or no? More of Mr. Eck?
I think as far as the uh, idea goes, that how serious is Daniel Eck in buying Arsenal? I think one thing I think we should establish is that he has the potential to buy Arsenal in future, and he can buy that now as well in collaboration. And I think that is what he's trying to do. So I think he has the potential to buy Arsenal. So as far as that is concerned, you should and we must and should take his bid seriously, kind of, or if we are not going to take his bid seriously, at least take the intention seriously. That okay, he is in the game. But I think as far as the game is concerned, I think he's trying to play it purely on the political standpoint, basically. He is basically playing the long game, I would say, and he's trying to basically chunk his way up to the top and try to chunk his way up to the top. And I think in a year, I would say we would be sure enough that whether he is serious or not. But I do think that he is going to be persistent enough to at least remain a year more. So as far as that is concerned, I think we are going to see more of Daniel Ek and his try to buy Arsenal, and we are going to also see Stan Kroenkes defining their stance that we are not for sale. But in football, things can change,
Oh
and
yes.
they have a potential to change. So depending upon how the season pans out, I think I cannot really predict that where we would be next season, or in what situation we would be in next season, or what when I talk about situation, I talk about in terms of how the fans view the club, how is the situation with the team and the squad and the manager, basically, and what is the hierarchy going on. So I think yes, his current two bids are not serious. I would say 2 billion is not the money that would buy him Arsenal. That is for certain. But what we have seen is that basically is that he has played his card, and the card is now in game, basically.
Okay,
So
so
let's see
so
how
you're
it
saying
turns
that
out.
Arsenal is in play. He has thrown his card in the ring, and you expect to see more of it.
Yeah, I do think that I expect to see more of it, because I think that has been, I think, his intent from the start, to basically throw something at the fans, see how they read, and then wait for the next moment, then throw the another thing, and then from there on gradually build it up. Because of course, if I'm Stan Kroenke and someone offers me even 2.5 billion, I might say no. But if someone offers me 2.5 billion and there's everything going against me, and I am frustrated by that fact, I might be willing to sell. So I think that is as far as the Daniel and all of his three partners are concerned, I think that is how they are trying to view it. But how much they are successful in it, I think only time will tell.
George, you have some critics here on the chat wading into you,
Uh,
saying,
well,
how could you, George? I gotta give you the last word. So they're saying, I think in Seeds and Omi expect this guy to be around. So George, they're saying that you're dismissing. I guess this guy Scan Hope. I think he's under some sort of. I'm not gonna say anything about his name or anything, but Stan is saying that you're not taking his. Stan, I hope I'm representing you properly. You're not taking Mr. X bid seriously. What So George, your last thought.
well, Stan might be right. Daniel Eck might really want to own a football club. He might come charging in on the shoulders of Henry and Bergkamp and Vieira, dragging Neymar and Messi behind him, and save us and make us the greatest football club in the world. And I just don't see it. And a lot of fans think that because he has a streaming service, that, he'll want to stream Arsenal games. What about if he streamed Arsenal games? He would make a fortune. We can't do that. There's TV rights. Yeah. A streaming company can't come in and fucking start streaming Arsenal games. So I might be wrong, but I just can't see it. And I don't understand the bid at all. He's not a football man. It's not his business model. Why is he getting involved? Why would you get involved? Why would you risk everything?
I think that's a good question, John.
Unless he's the biggest Arsenal fan that's ever been, or maybe he just loves playing football manager and he's going to fucking do it for real. He might buy the club and make himself manager. Make himself player manager. Who fucking knows? He might be fucking genius. Let the fans have what they want. Hope that this guy's going to come in and save the day. Well, but I'll be surprised if he does. But we'll still keep hearing for him. But we will keep hearing from him because, why not? Why would he not keep chipping in? We had 10 years of Uzmanov chipping in every couple of months, didn't he?
Yes, we did, and that's why I refer to it. We saw that.
And did he get rid of Stan Kroenke?
Stan always had the upper hand with the amount of shares he owned.
And he was a fucking gangster. He had more pull than Daniel Eck. Daniel Eck, all he can do is ban your records from his streaming service. Fucking Uzmanov could have you thrown out a window on the fucking 15th floor.
Yeah, whatever. But George, surprise. I think we can end. George is a skeptic. And we have two non-skeptical. You told me that Seebs was your echo, but Seebs thinks that Eck might still be a player. Omi thinks that he will be a player, trying to turn the atmosphere in his favor. Ehab, I think is more along George's line. Ehab, you've dropped off the stream, and I hate speaking for you. I, for one, think that Eck is representing Spotify. Spotify wants his hand on the brand. They want to grow the company. And I think that we are likely to see more of him. But I'm tending to think that there's no way that the Kroenkes are going to sell for anything under $2.75 or $3 billion. They have the personal wealth, and they have the ability to withstand this. And as Ehab said, the Newcastle owner, what's his name from Sports Direct, sits in the stands and takes the abuse, and he did shit all, for all those years. So I mean, we need to understand that these owners, they're remote from all of it. Mike Ashley, remote from all of their business advisors. They're going by what their business advisors and their instincts tell them. And if they have a strategy to use the club to grow their wealth until the point where the club becomes a burden on their wealth, they will not shed ownership. Or if somebody makes them an offer that they can't refuse, like the previous owners of Arsenal did, they got offers they could not refuse, they're not going to sell. So I'm somewhere in between you two guys. But let's leave it at that. And I want to thank you. Oh, we had a magnificent audience that rose to no more than 10 at the beginning. But like I said, this will be podcasted. And we will retweet it on Twitter. I think it was a good discussion. Unlike what I've seen elsewhere, where nobody wants to discuss seriously the offer of Mr. Daniel Eck. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
See you
Steve.
next time.
Thank you all. Bye.